In a world where gods secretly watch humans from the shadows, and when night falls ghosts and terrifying monsters roam freely, a child is born with a dark fate. But his life is far from normal. The one who raises him is his grandfather, who has turned into something like a psycho monster. Every night the old man loses control, runs deep into the forest, and hunts monsters like a beast. When the boy was still young, a powerful family stole something extremely precious from him, the divine fetus, a power that could have shaken the entire cultivation world. But he refuses to give up. Under his grandfather's brutal training, he grows stronger every day. The old man forces him through harsh training, medicinal baths, and terrifying soups made from poisonous insects and venomous creatures. But his true master is someone even more mysterious. Deep in the forest, a dead man hangs from an ancient tree. Anyone would think he is just a corpse, but in reality, he is the boy's hidden master. From him, the boy learns one important truth: this world is cruel, and only the strong can survive. And from that day on, the boy makes a vow. One day, he will take back his divine fetus, and make the entire cultivation world tremble. So without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. In a peaceful forest, two small birds nuzzle each other on a branch. The quiet moment is suddenly shattered when a horse's hoof slams onto the ground beneath them, startling them into the air. A caravan rushes through the forest at high speed. At the front rides a man with a goatee. His expression is serious as he urges his horse forward. Suddenly, his eyes widen. He quickly pulls the reins, forcing the horse to rear and stop. He raises his hand, signaling the entire caravan to halt. Standing silently in the middle of the road is a young boy blocking their path. A convoy of guards escorts an ornate carriage through the dense forest. One guard reports to the lady inside the carriage. "My lady, we are close to our destination." Suddenly he notices a child standing nearby. "My lady, there's a child over there. Perhaps we can ask him for information." The woman inside the carriage agrees calmly. "A child should be harmless." The guard approaches the boy who stands quietly beside a tree. He takes out a small piece of silver and offers it to the boy. "Kid, have you seen any other children around here?" The boy looks at him curiously. The guard continues. "I'm looking for some strange children. They look like porcelain dolls." The boy politely refuses the silver. "My grandpa told me never to take things from strangers." The guard smirks. "My name is Zheng He." He lifts the silver again. "Now you know my name, so we're no longer strangers. Think of this as payment for information." The young boy suddenly grins mischievously. He picks up a small shiny object and puts it in his mouth. Then he speaks while chewing. "You're looking for children? They're about this tall, less than a foot, and they move around in groups." The guard's eyes widen in shock. "That's them." He quickly turns to someone behind him. "They're really here." Suddenly, an invisible force crashes violently into the carriage. The roof shatters instantly. From deep within the dark forest, a pair of glowing, menacing eyes appears. The young boy stands frozen in shock. A mysterious blue aura suddenly surrounds him. He looks behind him nervously as a voice from behind tries to reassure him. A woman wearing a purple cloak suddenly appears before the boy. She smiles gently. "Little brother, have you seen some porcelain dolls around here?" The boy, Chen Shi, looks up at her nervously. Then he smiles brightly. "Big sister, you're really pretty. You're even prettier than someone named Zhu Yutsai." The woman blushes slightly but looks confused. "That's a strange name for a girl." Then she asks again. "Can you take me to those porcelain dolls?" Chen Shi presses a finger to his lips and smiles slyly. "Sure." He leads her deeper into the forest. The forest gradually turns dark with a deep red hue. The woman stops. Suddenly, a shadowy figure is hanging from a tree branch above her. And behind her appears another woman. Zhu Yutsai. She smiles sinisterly. At that moment, a horrifying skeletal monster with a long tongue suddenly lunges forward. The trap is revealed. The woman in purple looks down at Chen Shi again. "So you're the little brother I was looking for." Xiao Shi nods calmly. Okay. I understand. She turns to her men. Take the child. We're leaving. In another scene, a rider gallops away through the forest. Behind him, a body hangs from a dead tree. Elsewhere, a terrifying man wearing a skull mask gives an order. Shashi, deal with the approaching group. Meanwhile, the woman and her entourage travel through the misty forest with Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi suddenly clutches his stomach. I'm hungry. My grandpa is waiting for me at home. Can I go eat first before leading you there? The woman smiles slightly. She takes out some jerky. This is meat from spirit beasts. It's much better than whatever you eat at home. She hands him a piece. Try it. Her attendant then asks. Kid, what's your name? Where are you from? While chewing the jerky, the boy answers. My name is Xiao Shi. I'm from Hompi village. Everyone calls me Little Honest, because I never lie. The woman gently pats his head. Xiao Shi happily thanks her for the food and runs ahead to lead the way. The woman and her attendant watch him. The attendant speaks with surprise. My lady, that boy. The woman nods slowly. He's a cultivator. At only 10 years old, he has already reached the divine fetus realm. That makes him a genius. As Xiao Shi continues eating, a glowing blue divine shrine appears behind him, but the attendant suddenly reveals a shocking truth. My lady, although he has a divine shrine, the divine fetus inside it is missing. The woman frowns. How is that possible? The attendant explains coldly. In the mortal world, possessing a treasure is a crime. A powerful clan must have discovered his talent and stolen his divine fetus to transplant it into one of their own. Without the fetus, a cultivator is like a tree without roots. The spiritual energy from the jerky only temporarily revived the empty shrine. The woman finally understands. So his power is only an illusion. The attendant nods. It's already a miracle he survived the operation. They must have opened his skull to take it. As they speak, the blue aura around Xiao Shi slowly fades away. The divine shrine disappears completely. The attendant then recalls something. Recently, the useless son of an official named Li Sheng somehow ranked first in the provincial exams. It's very likely that he now possesses Xiao Shi's stolen divine fetus. Another man speaks calmly. My lady, the powerful Li family is not someone we should provoke. The woman smiles coldly. Still, helping someone like this might be interesting. Then her expression becomes cruel. That child is pitiful. Grant him a quick death. She then gives another order. Eliminate Hompi village completely. We cannot allow anyone to learn that the Jiao family has discovered the true king's tomb. Meanwhile, Xiao Shi walks ahead while chewing on a blade of grass. He sighs and speaks to a ghostly floating figure beside him. Master, what does the saying mean? The inventor of burial figures has no descendants. The ghostly master replies calmly. It means the first person who offended him had his entire bloodline wiped out. Xiao Shi looks up thoughtfully. Then a dark smile slowly spreads across his face. So anyone who offends us must be uprooted completely. He nods respectfully. Master, you truly know everything. The scene shifts to a peaceful misty mountain. A hand splashes into the water, trying to catch a fish. In the shallow river, a group of tiny porcelain childlike figures are happily playing and catching fish. They laugh and splash in the water, completely unaware of the danger around them. Hidden in the nearby forest, the woman in purple and her armed men watch silently. The men draw their swords. The woman smirks. So these are the sentient burial porcelain from the true king's tomb. If we follow them, they will lead us directly to the tomb, unseen by them. Another figure is watching from the bushes. It is Xiao Shi. His face is full of worry. He whispers softly, Little brothers. The woman in purple bows mockingly toward the porcelain figures. Her smile becomes sinister. Thank you for your help. The porcelain dolls splash happily through the river, celebrating their fresh catch with cheerful squeaks. Hidden in the nearby bushes, Xiao Shi senses a powerful presence approaching. He quickly crouches low in the underbrush, silently watching as the woman in purple and her escort emerge slowly from the thick mist. But his stealth fails him. His foot slips. Xiao Shi suddenly tumbles out of the bushes and crashes directly in front of the porcelain dolls. The three tiny porcelain children freeze in shock. They stare at the intruders in complete silence, overwhelmed by the terrifying pressure radiating from the strangers. The woman's oppressive aura suddenly disappears as she looks down at the clumsy mess Xiao Shi has made. Her expression shifts from intimidation to pure confusion. She bends slightly toward the trembling porcelain dolls with an awkward, predatory smile, unsure how to deal with the situation. The porcelain dolls' minds go completely blank with terror. One of them begins breathing rapidly, releasing high-pitched squeaks as he stares up at the woman. Suddenly panic overwhelms him. He flails backward wildly and crashes into the river with a massive splash, soaking everything nearby. The woman sighs in frustration. Her fiery aura flares again. She genuinely cannot understand why a simple child would react with such extreme fear to her presence. But then she notices something. The porcelain children are using the chaos to escape. "After them!" one guard shouts. The armored soldiers immediately draw their swords and rush into the forest to intercept the fleeing figures. They charge through the thick underbrush, their trained eyes scanning every shadow as they rapidly close the distance. One guard spots the small shapes darting through the greenery and surges forward. "They're over there!" The porcelain dolls scramble desperately through the bushes. Looking back in horror, they realize the soldiers are spreading out tactically, forming a trap to block their escape. A guard shouts orders to the others. "Cut off their sense of direction! Surround them!" The squad quickly adjusts formation. Meanwhile, the woman in purple smiles sharply and follows them deeper into the forest. The pursuers race through the woods. Their figures blur between the towering ancient trees as they sprint to close the gap. But suddenly, the environment begins to change. The trees seem to stretch endlessly upward, their trunks growing unnaturally tall. The scale of the forest begins to distort. The woman and the guard suddenly skid to a halt. They stand among massive plants and towering grass that swallow their figures completely. The guard curses angrily. How could a mere child disappear like that? Then a disturbing realization hits him. The forest isn't just dense. It has become unnatural. The grass has grown monstrously tall, and the trees loom like giants above them. The woman slowly scans the surroundings. Her sharp eyes narrow. She can feel a strange magical distortion twisting the landscape. Moments ago, a small stream flowed nearby. But now, a massive roaring river crashes violently against the shore before them. The woman's eyes widen in horror. "It's not the forest that changed." Her voice trembles slightly. "We've shrunk." Suddenly the guard screams. He collapses to the ground, clutching his leg in agony. But instead of blood and torn flesh, his broken limb reveals a hollow white interior. Like shattered porcelain. The guard stares up in disbelief. My body!" The woman looks down at her own hands. Her skin now gleams with a cold ceramic sheen. She too is transforming into a living porcelain doll. Panic spreads through the soldiers. One by one, their bodies stiffen and change as the porcelain curse takes hold. The woman finally understands. Her eyes widen in realization. "This is a ghost and god domain." Her lieutenant speaks grimly. "Inside this domain, divine powers are suppressed. We've become no different from ordinary porcelain figures." He grits his teeth angrily. "That brat dragged us into this trap." But the woman quickly regains her composure. "There's a flaw in this domain." She points forward. "The rules apply to everyone. If we have become porcelain, then so has that brat." Her eyes sharpen with cold determination. "Chase him." The soldiers move forward again. Now navigating through towering plants that used to be nothing more than grass. Suddenly, their path is blocked by a gigantic structure. It looms above them like an ancient fortress made of debris. The woman pushes through the towering grass with her lieutenant. Her eyes shine with excitement. "If this ghost and god domain exists here, then we have definitely found the true king's tomb." Suddenly a familiar voice echoes from the shadows. What took you so long to catch up? The group looks up. Through the dense foliage, they see Xiao Shi standing in the distance. He casually waves at them. The boy smiles brightly. His skin has already begun to shine like polished porcelain. Behind him lies a hidden nest of porcelain dolls. He gestures happily. Over here! The lieutenant whispers urgently. My lady. Xiao Shi has also transformed. If we capture him, he must know how to reverse the curse. The woman nods coldly. Good. Then we'll make him tell us. The group follows Xiao Shi deeper into the forest. Soon they arrive before a row of gigantic blue and white porcelain vessels towering into the sky. But the moment the woman sees them, her expression suddenly freezes. Her confidence shatters. This isn't a tomb. Her voice trembles. This is a massive porcelain kiln. And we have walked straight into the fire. Meanwhile, one soldier reaches a hidden corner. He shouts back to the others. I've found them. Inside the dark space, 3 tiny porcelain dolls huddle together, trembling with fear. They cling tightly to each other as the enemy approaches. The soldier laughs cruelly. Amused by their terror, he summons a gigantic spectral hand. The enormous phantom hand reaches downward to grab the helpless dolls like toys. But suddenly, a devastating force crashes down from above. The ground explodes with a thunderous impact. The spectral hand shatters instantly, and the entire battlefield trembles from the violent collision. Suddenly, a devastating force slams down from above, striking the ground with tremendous power. The earth shatters instantly, intercepting the attack with a deafening crash. In the next moment, a massive white limb crashes down from the sky, smashing into the ground near the woman. Debris explodes outward in all directions. From the swirling dust emerges a terrifying pale giant that towers over the entire battlefield. The monster slowly lowers its enormous head. Its eyes glow with a sinister red light as it locks its gaze directly onto the woman. Realizing the horrifying scale of the threat, the woman screams to her companions. Run! Everyone, run! She and her warriors scatter in panic, desperately dodging falling rocks as the giant's movements tear the ground apart. The colossal hand crashes down with the force of a landslide, chasing the fleeing soldiers who scramble in terror. But there is no escape. The giant's fist slams into the ground, crushing several men into the earth as they scream for mercy. The pressure is overwhelming, almost popping their eyes from their skulls as the giant tightens its deadly grip. Meanwhile, the monster smashes through a nearby wall, sending fragments flying everywhere. Behind the rubble, several terrified porcelain dolls are revealed, hiding among the ruins. The woman turns sharply. Her eyes lock onto a trembling child. At the same moment, the giant grabs her subordinate Fang Hai from the ground. Fang Hai! She screams. She watches helplessly as he is lifted into the air, crying out desperately for help. But before she can react, one of the porcelain children quickly presses a finger to his lips, signaling for complete silence. The woman freezes. She is torn between Fang Hai's desperate screams and the child's warning to stay hidden. Her body trembles in the darkness as she struggles to comprehend the nightmare unfolding around her. Suddenly, a gigantic eye presses against the broken wall. Its pupil slowly expands as it scans the interior, searching for any sign of movement. The woman flattens herself against the cold stone wall, and holds her breath as the enormous eye passes only inches from her face. Miraculously, it misses her. Seizing the opportunity, the woman and the remaining survivor quickly crawl out of the crevice, desperately trying to put distance between themselves and the monster. She gasps for breath, her chest rising and falling violently. But the moment she looks up, her heart freezes. A titanic face looms above them. It stares down at them, not with hatred, but with the curious gaze of a human observing insects. The giant worker casually grabs one of the struggling disciples from the ground. The helpless man dangles in the air as the giant lifts him toward a roaring furnace. Then, with a careless flick of his wrist, the giant drops him. The screaming man falls directly into the blazing inferno. The flames swallow him instantly. His agonized screams echo briefly before his body is reduced to ashes. Watching the horrific scene from the shadows, one of the survivors curses under his breath. Only now does he realize the terrifying scale of the enemy they are facing. Nearby, hidden behind a massive clay vessel, the woman silently observes the giant's labor. Her heart burns with rage. She realizes that her junior brother Shinseng Shaoqin likely died in this miserable place. Just then, a voice interrupts her thoughts. But it does not belong to a monster. Instead, 3 small porcelain-skinned figures are standing at her feet. They ask her calmly if she has also fallen victim to the little honest beast from Hompi village. The woman is stunned. She can actually understand the speech of these living porcelain dolls. The leader of the trio spits angrily. That shameless brat tricked us! He explains that for the past 2 years, treasure hunters like them have been deceived by that boy and slowly transformed into fragile porcelain bodies. And so far, no one has found a cure. Hearing this, the woman realizes something important. These victims were also searching for the true king's tomb. Which means the boy who trapped them must know the secret to reversing the curse. She steels her resolve. If she wants to escape this porcelain fate, she must act quickly. Suddenly, one of the mustached porcelain men points at her with a trembling finger. His eyes widen in recognition. You are the second young lady of the Xinshang Xiao clan. The woman looks down calmly. The tiny man explains that he is a cultivator from Quenzhou who once met her years ago. Even trapped inside a porcelain body, the martial world still feels incredibly small. The 3 porcelain figures bow respectfully and introduce themselves one by one to second young lady Zhao. The woman's face grows pale. Cold sweat trickles down her forehead. Because she recognizes one of the names. That man was once a golden core stage cultivator. A powerful expert whom even her family would treat with great respect. And yet, even someone like him was reduced to a fragile porcelain toy by the schemes of that boy. She clenches her teeth. The truth becomes undeniable. That innocent-looking child is actually a terrifying, shameless villain. Elsewhere inside the blazing kiln, a massive giant slowly walks through the intense heat. On his shoulder rests a huge blue porcelain vase. Without care, he throws it down. The vessel shatters violently against the ground. Fragments scatter everywhere. And from inside the broken vase, Xiao Shi tumbles out. He bursts into laughter, clearly enjoying the chaos. Moments later, Xiao Shi rolls down the dirt path from the explosion, tumbling violently before finally sliding to a stop in the bushes near the edge of the forest. Ahead of him, a settlement of glowing kilns burns brightly in the night. Xiao Shi stares at the fiery camp. His expression gradually becomes cold. He cannot understand why those greedy outsiders from the great cities always try to silence witnesses like him in their hunt for treasure. Then suddenly, a chilling realization crosses his mind. His master's teachings echo in his memory. A dark silhouette appears in his thoughts beneath a blood-red moon. A reminder of how true cultivators must deal with enemies. Xiao Shi's eyes grow colder. Since those enemies have delivered themselves to him, he will bury them all right here. And make sure that not a single one leaves alive. Deep within a misty forest, ancient stone guardians silently watched over a hidden path that led to a secret kiln, a route that outsiders could never hope to find. Xiao Shi rushed up the ancient moss-covered stairs, desperate to reach his destination. But in his haste, he lost his footing and stumbled forward. He crashed onto the stone floor with a loud metallic clang, sparks bursting from the impact. Fear flashed across his face. He quickly inspected his foot, panic rising in his chest. Only after confirming that the surface remained intact did he finally release a sigh of relief. Sitting back for a moment, he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Right now, his body was far too fragile to afford even the smallest mistake. Carefully, Xiao Shi continued along the cliffside path. In his current state, even a single slip would mean instant death. He planted his foot cautiously, testing the uneven stone beneath him. Then suddenly, he broke into a sprint, rushing through the tall grass. If he wanted to survive, he had to take advantage of the overwhelming pressure of the ghost and god domain surrounding the true king's tomb. Channeling the ambient energy of the domain, Xiao Shi steadied his stance against the crushing gravity. Runes ignited along his arm as the power responded to his call. With a sharp motion, he unleashed the energy. Green wisps of the domain began swirling around his fingertips as he seized control of the surrounding force. The green energy surged violently around his arm as he struggled to control it. But the gamble paid off. By forcing the pressure of the domain to clash against the porcelain curse of the kiln, he gradually pushed the two forces against each other. And finally, his body began to change. Xiao Shi straightened as the transformation completed. His porcelain form faded away. He had successfully returned to his human body. With his senses restored, Xiao Shi scanned the dark surroundings carefully, remaining alert for any immediate threats. He descended deeper into the ruins. His small figure moved quietly past massive ancient dragon statues carved into the stone walls. Then suddenly, he noticed something glowing in the darkness below. Entangled within thick roots was a golden stone stele, pulsing faintly with mysterious energy. Xiao Shi pulled out a piece of spirit beast jerky. A confident smile appeared on his face as he remembered its hidden property. Trusting the jerky to reveal the true nature of the tomb, he took a bite. As he swallowed, he focused his mind and attempted to pierce the tomb's illusion. Blue spiritual energy instantly erupted around him, answering his call. Xiao Shi stepped forward beneath a massive spectral lantern. The tomb's barrier pressed heavily against his body. With every step, the pressure grew stronger, threatening to crush him to the ground. But he pushed forward. Suddenly, a terrifying roar erupted from the darkness. "Stop right there!" A colossal stone guardian appeared ahead of him. Its enormous body towered above the path. The guardian warned him that fully triggering the ghost and god domain would bring certain death, even for someone of Xiao Shi's lineage. But the intimidation failed. Around them, the ancient statues began cracking and collapsing under the pressure. Xiao Shi remained standing before the glowing gate. His eyes narrowed as he finally realized how the mechanism worked. His gaze shifted toward the golden stele buried among the roots. He began deciphering the inscription carved into it. It spoke of gathering celestial light in order to cultivate upright qi. But before he could continue reading, the guardian's voice thundered again. A massive armored foot slammed into the ground beside him. The creature leaned forward and warned him sternly. "Control your greed and turn back." Then the guardian revealed something surprising. It shared past karma with Xiao Shi's grandfather. And because of that connection, it refused to watch the old man's descendant die here. The guardian pointed toward the fading light in the sky. Once true darkness arrived, the domain would transform into a deadly trap from which there was no escape. Realizing the danger, Xiao Shi immediately bowed respectfully. "Thank you for the advice, Uncle Ramhorn." With a cheeky grin, he quickly turned around and ran. Blue energy trailed behind him as he dashed through the darkening forest, racing against the setting sun. Even so, Xiao Shi couldn't help feeling a hint of regret. He hadn't finished deciphering the secret technique carved into the golden stele. After running for a while, Xiao Shi finally slowed down to catch his breath. His chest rose and fell heavily. Deep inside, he longed for a normal life. He wanted to study, pass the imperial examinations, become a respected scholar like the other children. More than anything, he refused to become a failure. He wanted to prove himself and make his grandfather proud. But suddenly, the sky above him turned a deep, ominous crimson. Xiao Shi shielded his eyes. He recognized the terrifying phenomenon immediately. The heavens themselves seemed to glare down at him. The sun was setting, and the realm was entering its deadly night phase. Terrified of the evil spirits that roamed after sunset, Xiao Shi forced his exhausted legs to keep running. He had to reach home before night fully fell. Meanwhile, back at the ruins, several lesser beast guardians questioned their leader. Why had he shown mercy to the human boy? The massive blue demon guardian grumbled. Truthfully, he had wanted to crush the child. But he feared Xiao Shi's grandfather. Years ago, that troublesome old man had forcefully broken into the true king's tomb, surviving its traps for 9 entire days. Despite their best efforts to stop him, the old man still managed to steal the tomb's greatest secret: the fire tempering method. The demon speculated that Xiao Shi's grandfather intended to refine his own corpse into an undead immortal in order to cheat death. But then the demon considered something darker. What if the old man had already died? During their last encounter, the grandfather barely looked like a living human. A cold wind swept through the ruins. The demon suddenly realized something unsettling about Xiao Shi as well. He inhaled deeply and confirmed his suspicion. Just like his grandfather, the boy possessed no human life aura at all. Night finally fell across the forest. A cold blue moon illuminated the dark trees. Xiao Shi sprinted through the undergrowth, desperate to reach safety before the spirits appeared. Then suddenly, he stopped. His eyes widened in horror. From the darkness ahead, an eerie howling wind began to rise. He was too late. A massive shadow slowly rose from the darkness. A single glowing red eye pierced through the night. The creature let out a bone-chilling shriek. Its grotesque face was skinless, its massive mouth hung open, dripping with saliva. Xiao Shi ran desperately through the forest. Behind him, the monster's multiple red eyes locked onto him as its enormous body crushed trees in its path. He immediately recognized the creature. This was the evil spirit his grandfather had warned him about. A monster that appeared at sunset to harvest the lives of the living. The ground exploded as the monster's giant hands smashed downward. Xiao Shi barely managed to dodge. Cornered and out of options, Xiao Shi pulled out his final piece of spirit jerky. The fear in his eyes slowly faded. Determination replaced it. Instead of running, he decided to fight. He would test the three lights upright chi art he had deciphered from the golden steel. Xiao Shi activated the technique. A spectral gate appeared behind him. Blue spiritual energy surged through his veins. He grinned. The power of the true king's tomb was far greater than the basic techniques he had learned in school. Moving faster than ever before, Xiao Shi shot forward like a streak of blue light, rushing past the shadowy skull monster. Even a small fragment of starlight granted him incredible speed. Ahead, he finally saw the entrance to his village. Relief flooded his heart. He was safe. But suddenly, the blue energy vanished. His body collapsed. Xiao Shi crashed to the ground. Panic filled his mind. He had fallen just steps away from safety. The multi-eyed skull monster loomed over him. It released a deafening shriek directly into his face. Xiao Shi froze in terror. But before the creature could strike, a sharp blade of wind sliced through the air. The monster was forced back instantly. Xiao Shi stared in shock. Then relief washed over him. Standing between him and death was his grandfather. The old man remained completely calm. Ignoring the monster entirely, he simply said, "It's time to go home and take your medicine." Xiao Shi quickly nodded. But as he looked at the old man's back, he noticed something strange. A thick, fleshy stench clung to his grandfather. Something was very wrong. They began walking away. But the nightmare was not over. The monster roared furiously. A massive hairy tail lashed out from the darkness. The peaceful night of the village shattered with a sharp cutting sound. The multi-eyed monster lunged forward, its jaws opening wide to devour them. But suddenly, a jagged bolt of yellow lightning exploded through the air. It slammed directly into the beast. Blood sprayed across the night sky. The creature was instantly overwhelmed. Its roar turned into a weak whimper as the devastating strike crushed it into submission. Xiao Shi tilts his head back and drinks the final drop of medicinal soup. He lowers the empty bowl and wipes his mouth, relieved that the bitter concoction is finally finished. Steam rises around his shoulders as he leans back in the hot water, letting out a long, relaxed sigh. But the peace lasts only a moment. The water suddenly begins to bubble violently. Xiao Shi's eyes widen in horror as he realizes he isn't soaking in a bath at all. He is sitting inside a massive iron cauldron. "Stop cooking me!" he shouts frantically. But a black dog nearby completely ignores his pleas. The animal grips a piece of firewood in its jaws and aggressively feeds it into the fire beneath the cauldron. The flames roar even higher. Xiao Shi screams in agony as the water begins to boil. As he sinks deeper into the medicinal bath, Xiao Shi's mind drifts back to the past. He remembers his grandfather explaining that he had once been unconscious for a very long time. The only reason he survived was because the old man stayed by his side day and night, feeding him spiritual herbs just to keep him alive. But even with that explanation, there is still a blank space in his memory. Xiao Shi stares ahead silently. He cannot remember anything from before the age of 9. His hand slowly moves to his chest. There, a massive jagged scar stretches across his body. It is a brutal wound. One that should have killed any ordinary child. Dark rumors begin to connect in his mind. This injury was no accident. Someone had split open his chest. They stole his divine fetus, the source of his immense potential, and then transplanted it into the body of another child from a powerful aristocratic clan. In Xiao Shi's mind, the culprits are clear. The crime was committed by Assistant Magistrate Li of Shu County. All to help his useless son Li Shang cheat his way into first place in the provincial examinations. Xiao Shi's expression darkens. His birthright was carved out of his body. He was left broken. Incomplete. Rage burns in his eyes as he clenches his fists beneath the boiling water. Because of Li Shang's greed, Xiao Shi has spent 2 entire years drinking poison and bathing in venom just to stay alive. Finally, he snaps. "I'm not going to be the only one suffering today!" With a furious shout, Xiao Shi scoops up a huge wave of boiling medicinal soup. He throws it straight out of the cauldron. The scalding liquid splashes directly onto the black dog. The poor animal freezes, completely drenched in the sticky yellow medicine, staring in confusion at the sudden attack. Xiao Shi looks down at his dripping hand, and suddenly realizes something. If his divine fetus was stolen, then that means he was never a useless person to begin with. A confident grin slowly spreads across his face. Even without the divine fetus, he can still cultivate and become a legend by his own strength. But his optimism quickly fades. The wound on the back of his head healed long ago. Yet his grandfather still forces him to soak inside this boiling medicinal cauldron every single day. Below him, the black dog puffs its cheeks and blows air into the coals, making the green flames burn even hotter. Suddenly, Xiao Shi freezes. A heavy presence approaches. The door creaks open. Grandpa steps inside. His figure stands silently in the shadows. Xiao Shi stares at the old man, trying to remember when his grandfather started to feel so unsettling. Under the eerie green light, Grandpa looks less like a living human and more like a walking corpse. Xiao Shi recalls the past. There was once a time when Grandpa felt warm and alive. He used to celebrate breakthroughs in secret cultivation arts while proudly holding Xiao Shi in his arms. But the man standing before him now feels completely different. The warmth is gone. Grandpa's face suddenly twists into a demonic expression. His eyes glow with a terrifying crimson light. He suddenly lets out a sharp roar that echoes through the room. The flames beneath the cauldron surge violently in response. The black dog pauses its work, looking exhausted and annoyed by the old man's strange outburst. Xiao Shi watches silently. Slowly, the terrifying aura fades. Grandpa leaves the room. The door clicks shut. Xiao Shi slumps against the side of the cauldron and exhales deeply. But the relief lasts only seconds. The dark medicinal liquid begins to churn violently again. The heat intensifies around his body. Xiao Shi throws his head back and clenches his teeth. The true torture of the tempering bath has begun. The dark medicine boils furiously. Xiao Shi feels as if his internal organs are being roasted alive. Unable to endure the agony, he thrashes wildly inside the cauldron. A tortured scream pierces the quiet night. Some time later, the door slides open again. Xiao Shi stumbles outside, leaning heavily against the wooden frame. His body trembles with exhaustion. Across the courtyard, he sees a silhouette pacing inside a nearby room. It is Grandpa. The old man mutters to himself while holding a message talisman. Xiao Shi realizes what he is doing. Grandpa is trying to contact Xiao Shi's father, again. Through the thin paper screen, Grandpa's voice drifts out. He begs the man to return and acknowledge his son. But Xiao Shi's expression darkens. He clutches his chest bitterly. He has never once seen his father since losing his memories. Inside the room, Grandpa stands before the ancestral altar. He confesses quietly that his life is nearing its end. Then suddenly, his expression changes. He crushes the message talisman in his hand. His jaw opens unnaturally wide. Like a corpse. He shoves the talisman into his mouth and devours it. Chewing frantically. Like a starving animal. Then he inhales deeply. The burning incense smoke flows straight into his lungs. His eyes glow crimson again. The hunger inside him is still not satisfied. Later that night, Xiao Shi sleeps uneasily. A strange smell drifts into his dreams. His eyes slowly open. A dark shadow looms above his bed. Grandpa stands there. His eyes glowing red. Saliva dripping from his mouth. "I'm starving," the old man whispers. He grabs Xiao Shi's shoulders, pinning the boy down. Just as he seems ready to attack. Clang! A loud noise rings out somewhere outside. Grandpa freezes, then suddenly vanishes through the window in a blur of motion. The wooden shutters slam violently in the wind. Xiao Shi curls up on the bed, trembling. He tells himself Grandpa is only sick. He refuses to believe the old man truly wants to kill him. But suddenly, a violent pounding erupts inside his chest. Blue energy explodes through his body. His veins bulge violently. He collapses onto the bed, clutching his chest in agony. Inside his body, the ghost hand curse awakens. A spectral claw tears through his ribs and crushes his organs. Xiao Shi screams in pain. The suppression from the medicinal bath has failed again. He jolts awake in a cold sweat. "Grandpa!" he calls out weakly. But no one answers. Darkness surrounds him. Spectral claws rise from the abyss and drag his consciousness downward. But suddenly, a realization strikes him. He cannot rely on his grandfather forever. Xiao Shi forces himself up from the ground. If he wants to survive, he must save himself. The ghost hand tightens around his heart. He has only one option left. The three lights upright chi art. Xiao Shi stomps his foot firmly on the ground. His trembling body stabilizes. His hands form a complex seal. Beams of celestial light suddenly pierce the sky. In a world where gods have vanished, Xiao Shi calls upon the power of the stars. Starlight descends from the heavens. It strikes the cursed green mark on his back. Under the purifying light, the ghostly handprint dissolves. The curse disappears. Exhausted, Xiao Shi collapses onto the stone floor. He clutches his chest, breathing heavily. He has no idea why that ghost's claw attached itself to his body. He gazes at the silent moon above, left with more questions than answers. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, the grass is soaked in fresh blood. Grandpa crouches over the corpse of a massive monster. He tears raw flesh from the creature with savage delight. Holding a dripping organ in his hand, he grins. With a wet crunch, he bites into it. "Evil spirits taste far better than humans," he mutters calmly. Satisfied, the old man wipes the blood from his beard and adjusts his hair bun. Behind him lies the enormous corpse of the defeated beast. A grotesque monster with rolling eyes and pale blood-streaked skin. Even standing beneath its massive body, Grandpa looks frighteningly small, yet he calmly inspects the creature's giant tentacles, as if this horrifying kill were nothing unusual at all. Mist clings to the silent courtyard as the first light of dawn approaches. Suddenly, a cleaver slams violently into a slab of meat. The sharp sound breaks the stillness of the early morning. Hidden behind the door, Xiao Shi trembles as he watches from the shadows. A disturbing rumor echoes in his mind, one about a strange diet that supposedly excludes human flesh. Carefully, he peeks through the crack in the door. Inside, he sees the hunched silhouette of his grandfather quietly butchering meat in the darkness. For a moment, the atmosphere feels terrifying, but as the morning birds begin to chirp, the ominous aura suddenly disappears. Soon, the streets of Hongpi village burst into life. The villagers gather excitedly for their monthly offering ritual. They carry a golden roasted pig and trays of fresh fruit high above their heads as they march beneath bright banners promising eternal peace. At the center of the gathering stands a massive ancient spirit tree. It towers over the entire village like a guardian. According to the villagers, the tree protects them from the evil spirits that roam the night. One by one, the entire village kneels before it. They bow their heads in worship toward the spirit they call Godmother. Red prayer plaques hang from the thick branches of the tree, swaying gently in the wind. High above the crowd, the Godmother spirit lounges on a thick branch. She swings her bare feet casually while watching the villagers below. A playful smile rests on her lips. But behind that smile lurk darker thoughts. She lazily reaches for a bright red apple. Just as Xiao Shi is about to take a bite, Grandpa suddenly grabs his wrist. "Who gave you that fruit?" Xiao Shi points innocently toward the tree. "The Godmother." Grandpa's grip tightens instantly. His voice turns cold. "She is not your godmother." As his fingers tighten around Xiao Shi's wrist, the illusion shatters. The fresh apple suddenly rots in Xiao Shi's hand, dissolving into disgusting purple sludge. Grandpa crushes the rotten fruit and throws it aside. "If she were truly a godmother," he mutters, "everyone here would be her child." High above, the Godmother spirit freezes. Her playful smile disappears. She realizes immediately that this old man is no ordinary villager. Grandpa quietly pulls Xiao Shi away from the tree. "Stay away from that spirit. Never trust it." Later that evening, Xiao Shi returns home for dinner. He runs eagerly to the table. But his excitement vanishes instantly. The bowls in front of him are filled with thick green sludge crawling with dead scorpions and centipedes. Xiao Shi pinches his nose in disgust. "Is this really dinner?" Grandpa slams his skeletal hand onto the table. His gaunt face looks terrifying. "This poison is necessary for your illness." Xiao Shi tries to protest. "But I feel much better now." Grandpa's eyes glow faintly. "Drink it." Then he calmly turns and walks away. Before leaving, he adds quietly, "I know about your relapse last night." Xiao Shi freezes. Grandpa had been out hunting monsters all night. So how could he possibly know what happened in the bedroom? Outside the house, something watches silently from the darkness. A massive unblinking eye stares toward the doorway. Waiting. Terrified, Xiao Shi immediately surrenders. He lifts the bowl and forces the disgusting poison down his throat. A quiet voice whispers from the shadows. "Good." The house falls silent. Moments later, Xiao Shi gasps violently. It feels like his heart is being boiled alive inside his chest. But instead of killing him, the poison fuels his body with energy. Xiao Shi quickly activates the three lights upright chi art. Blue spectral energy bursts around him as he channels the power of the stars. Since his divine fetus was stolen, he cannot cultivate normally. So he has chosen a different path. He will refine his physical body into a sacred fetus instead. Starlight flows through his meridians, illuminating his nervous system as he pushes his body beyond its natural limits. Later that night, Xiao Shi prepares a wooden cart for travel. He loads a heavy crate and carefully ties the supplies in place. Using a brush, he paints complex red runes onto the cart wheels. "This speed talisman will make the journey faster," he explains to Grandpa. Nearby, Xiao Shi wrinkles his nose while holding a bowl filled with fresh black dog blood. The smell is unbearable. He turns toward the black dog with a mischievous grin. "You know the strongest yang energy comes from cutting the throat directly." The dog freezes in terror. Sweat forms on its forehead as Xiao Shi casually draws a line across its neck with the blood-soaked brush. Grandpa ignores the boy's antics. His gaunt face remains hidden beneath a straw hat as he prepares to leave. A golden geomancy compass spins wildly before locking onto a direction. Ancient wooden gates slowly creak open. The talisman activates. The cart suddenly surges forward with supernatural speed. "Get on!" Grandpa shouts. But Xiao Shi simply runs behind the wagon, testing the limits of his newly strengthened body. Finally, he leaps onto the cart with a grin. The journey begins. Later, Xiao Shi jumps off the moving cart carrying a basket of fruit. He runs up a grassy hill toward a solitary stone tablet beneath an ancient tree. Lighting 3 sticks of incense, he bows respectfully. High in the branches above, a hanging corpse twitches. A pale ghost with a long dangling tongue descends slowly from the tree. The spirit bows politely. "Thank you for the offering." Satisfied, the ghost retreats into the shadows. Xiao Shi leaps back onto the moving cart. Grandpa notices his improved agility. "The medicinal bath is working. We should increase the dosage." Xiao Shi's face turns pale with horror. Soon they arrive at Shenyang village. There, the villagers worship an ancient pagoda spirit known as the Godmother. Inside the pagoda sits a glowing monk spirit. The villagers believe their faith created him. In return, he protects the region. But when Xiao Shi casually starts eating the offerings from the altar, the monk spirit opens one eye. His gentle smile hides something far more dangerous. Suddenly, the illusion shatters. The monk transforms into a massive monstrous giant and slams a claw toward Xiao Shi. The boy barely escapes the ambush. Lesson learned. Never trust the appearance of a spirit. Later, they arrive in a busy city filled with vendors and steam from fresh buns. Xiao Shi opens a wooden chest and sets up a small stall. Inside are handmade talismans created by Grandpa. Since crafting true talisman scripts requires reaching the divine fetus realm, genuine talismans are rare. Most masters become government officials instead of merchants. Because of this, Grandpa's talismans are extremely valuable. Soon, 2 scholars approach the stall. "Old Chen," one of them says with a smile. "You're back in business?" Grandpa nods calmly. "I have message talismans, peachwood charms, weather scripts, whatever you need." The man laughs. "I thought you finally passed the exams and became a scholar." But suddenly his tone lowers. "I heard something strange. They say Old Chen died." For a moment, the air turns cold. Under the brim of his hat, Grandpa's eye glows crimson. He looks less like a man, and more like a monster. Xiao Shi freezes. Sweat drips down his face. But then the scholars burst into laughter. "Just a rumor." Grandpa laughs with them. The terrifying aura disappears instantly, but Xiao Shi remains silent. Because the joke is far too close to the truth. Flashbacks return to his mind. Grandpa chewing incense candles in the darkness. His skeletal face twisted with hunger. Smoke filling his lungs as he desperately consumes the spiritual energy. Xiao Shi remembers peeking through the door that night and seeing something terrifying. The incense was burning before a spirit tablet. And on that tablet was written a single name. Chen Yin. Grandpa's name. Xiao Shi stands frozen as the truth slowly settles in. The rumors about Grandpa sleeping in a coffin, the strange rituals, the endless hunger. They weren't rumors at all. They were reality. A woman in purple suddenly leans over Xiao Shi's shoulder, greeting him with a playful smile. She taps his chest familiarly and laughs softly. "It's been a long time since we last met." Behind her, a shy girl dressed in green hides half-heartedly, blushing as the woman in purple teases Su Yan about how much he has grown. The 2 women soon turn to leave, their robes fluttering gently in the breeze. Su Yan stands there, completely flustered, his mind spinning from the unexpected contact. Back at the talisman stall, an old man wearing a straw hat calmly asks the customers what they wish to buy. Coins clink as payment is offered. The woman in purple requests 2 peach blossom talismans. She deliberately hands the money to Xiao Shi, who looks slightly nervous while completing the transaction. The woman leans in far too close, teasing him about how smooth his skin looks while repeating her order. Xiao Shi's face turns bright red. Embarrassed, he quickly rearranges the wooden talisman blocks in front of him to hide his expression. He wraps the talismans neatly and hands them over, eager to finish the sale. As the women walk away, the lady in purple loudly praises Xiao Shi's handsome face. Her companion warns her that the boy can still hear everything. But the woman simply laughs. Xiao Shi watches them leave, unable to wipe the goofy, love-struck grin from his face. Suddenly he turns toward Grandpa. I need to use the bathroom, he says awkwardly. Grandpa isn't fooled for even a second. Hand it over. Xiao Shi freezes. He tries to act innocent. I don't know what you mean. Grandpa calmly sits down on the pavement and extends his hand. He waits silently for the money from the talisman's sale. Xiao Shi sighs in frustration. I'm not a child anymore. I can handle selling peach blossom talismans. Grandpa shakes his head. You still need the medicinal bath for another 2 years before your body grows properly. Xiao Shi pouts. But Grandpa adds another heavy truth. You're still sick. Fed up with the vague explanation, Xiao Shi suddenly shouts. Then what illness do I actually have? Grandpa responds with complete silence. Later, their wooden cart travels slowly through vast rocky mountains. Xiao Shi chews quietly on a piece of food. But suddenly he stops. A troubling thought strikes him. He looks at Grandpa sitting silently amid drifting smoke. The old man looks ancient. Fragile. Xiao Shi remembers a villager once asking Grandpa about rumors of his death. He stares at the old man now, silently begging him not to die. To distract himself, he catches a small insect and tosses it into the wind. Grandpa places a heavy hand on the boy's head. He seems to understand the unspoken fear in Xiao Shi's heart. Death is inevitable, he says calmly. Don't be foolish. Xiao Shi looks up at him with worried eyes. Grandpa points toward the distant horizon. Ahead lies the ruins of a destroyed village. Broken walls crumble beneath creeping forest vines. This place was wiped out by external evil, Grandpa explains. The moment its protector spirit died. If even guardian spirits can die, humans certainly cannot escape death. Xiao Shi looks hopeful for a moment. Then, will Grandpa become a godmother spirit after he dies? So we can still see each other every day? Grandpa shakes his head. His answer crushes the boy's hope. When I die, the netherworld will drag my soul into the abyss. Suddenly, eerie laughter echoes behind them. Xiao Shi spins around in shock. Blue spectral figures begin appearing from the empty air. Ghostly shapes swirl around the cart, cackling mischievously. Xiao Shi points at them in confusion. If the netherworld drags souls away, then why are these ghosts still here? Grandpa stares ahead as the cart continues moving. These things linger, he says quietly. Because my life has been one of disrespect toward both ghosts and gods. Eventually they reach Fangsunan village, where a massive ancient tree grows near the edge of a cliff. Xiao Shi looks up at the towering branches. Strangely, there is no godmother spirit living in this tree. At the base of the trunk stands a small shrine. Xiao Shi lights incense and offers a prayer. High above, hidden among the rafters, a green-haired spirit with wooden antlers lazily eats fruit. Her presence alone protects the village from death. But suddenly chaos erupts in the streets. Villagers scatter in panic. The 6 gates officers are here. Xiao Shi looks around in confusion. An old man whispers the truth. These are the magistrate's dogs, here to collect taxes. The officers ride violently through the village entrance. One rider yanks his reins sharply, his horse nearly trampling Xiao Shi. The law of the Great Ming, the officials shout. Anyone who owes taxes will suffer 100 lashes. A man named Lu Tan sits proudly atop his horse, looking down at the villagers with a cruel smirk. The 6 gates officers tear through the marketplace, knocking over stalls and seizing goods. One officer checks a ledger. Lu Zishi paid his land tax, but he still owes commercial taxes. He shouts toward a closed gate. Lu Zishi! Come out! When no one answers, the officer begins counting. If you don't come out by 3, we'll break the door down. Suddenly, a crimson aura erupts from inside the estate. A demonic silhouette forms in the doorway. The officer flinches. A frightened villager quickly runs forward. Please stop. Lu Zishi is already dead. The official frowns. When did he die? Right after your last visit. The villager explains nervously. He hung himself from the godmother's tree. By the time the villagers discovered him, his body had already stiffened beneath the eerie red light of the spirit tree. The officer's eyes widen. He immediately understands the implication. The man had offered his corpse as a sacrifice to beg the deity for revenge. A smug grin spreads across the officer's face. Trying to curse us from beyond the grave? He laughs mockingly. The officials boldly march toward the shrine. If the godmother takes revenge, the leader shouts, then she is declaring war on the great Ming Empire. No rural spirit can challenge imperial law. He declares arrogantly that the power of the great Ming can wipe out a minor god effortlessly. Then he issues a cruel ultimatum. If the godmother protects Lu Zixi's vengeful spirit, the village will lose her protection. Every single one of you will be left to face the horrors of the night. Xiao Shi watches in disbelief. A mere human official is threatening a deity on her own territory. High above the tree, the godmother manifests as a young girl. She casually eats a snack while reading a scroll. She looks down thoughtfully. Can such disrespect really be tolerated? Xiao Shi breaks into nervous sweat. The deity faces a terrible choice. Avenge Lu Zixi, or protect the rest of the village. The officials enter Lu Zixi's empty home. Death does not excuse unpaid taxes, the leader declares. Bring out the rest of the family. But there is no one left. A subordinate reports grimly. The daughter was sold. The son drowned. The wife went mad and disappeared. Unmoved, the officer orders his men to strip the house bare. If we can't get money, we'll take everything. The soldiers begin smashing doors and searching the house. But the possessions are worthless. Then one officer complains. If we fail to meet the tax quota, the difference comes out of our own pockets. A cruel solution forms immediately. If the dead man can't pay, then the village will. The officers turn toward the terrified villagers. The air grows heavy with tension. The leader accuses them of plotting rebellion. But the villagers do not retreat. They grip their farming tools with white knuckles. The official laughs. Every man under my command passed the county examinations. But we are not just scholars. Blue energy bursts from their bodies. They reveal their true identities. Cultivators blessed with divine fetuses. The leader delivers the final threat. Fight us, and you will die. And your 9 generations will be executed. The villagers' courage collapses. Fear replaces their anger. Just then, a weathered hand extends from the crowd. A heavy pouch of coins is offered. Pay the tax, a voice says calmly. The officer smiles when he recognizes the man. Old Chen. Grandpa sits quietly on the wooden cart, his face hidden beneath his straw hat. He greets Lord Lu politely. Lord Lu laughs. You're still strong enough to pay taxes for a few more years. But suddenly, he pauses. His nose twitches. A strange smell drifts through the air. His expression slowly darkens. He finally recognizes the scent. It is the unmistakable odor of a corpse. Lord Lu looks toward the cart in shock. The smell is coming from Grandpa. Lord Lu suddenly points a finger toward Xiao Shi. His eyes widen in recognition. So it really is you, the legendary #1 child scholar of the 50 provinces. Xiao Shi stares back in confusion. He cannot understand why such an intimidating official suddenly seems nervous around him. Lord Lu smiles politely. Old Chen truly accomplished the impossible, he says slowly. To steal the secrets of heaven and earth, just to save this boy. But the smile fades quickly. If you ever break the law, he adds coldly, you will fall straight into my hands. With a wave of his arm, Lord Lu orders his men to seize everything on the stall table. Suddenly, Grandpa pulls a dagger from his belt with a sharp swish. He stabs it straight into the black dog. Blood sprays into the air as the dog lets out a painful scream. But the entire scene is only an act. Moments earlier, Xiao Shi had secretly poured red liquid over the dog to fake the injury. The dog performs perfectly. It collapses onto the ground, pretending to die. The officials are momentarily distracted. Meanwhile, Grandpa calmly ignores the accusations and begins writing on a talisman sheet. His brush moves smoothly across the paper. He is crafting a rare talisman on the spot. Its value far exceeds any amount of money. Lord Lu and the officers watched silently, captivated by the old man's skill. Breaking the silence, Xiao Shi suddenly asks, "Was I really the #1 child scholar of 50 provinces?" Grandpa does not even look up from his work. Why does little Ten keep bringing up the past? Nearby, the black dog quietly chews on a strange red pouch. Suddenly the animal drops it and begins barking aggressively into the air. Xiao Shi looks up. Something is wrong, the sky feels strange. Grandpa adjusts his straw hat abruptly. "Darkness is coming," he mutters. "We must leave immediately." Xiao Shi blinks in confusion. It's still the middle of the day. The sun shines brightly overhead. But Grandpa ignores the eager customers gathering around the stall. "Business doesn't matter anymore," he says. "We're out of time." Following the old man's instincts, Xiao Shi begins loading the unsold talisman crates back onto the cart. He lifts a heavy box. But suddenly pauses. The atmosphere has changed. High above the village shrine, the green-haired godmother spirit quietly peers over the altar cloth. Her wide eyes follow the travelers with deep curiosity. Meanwhile, Lord Lu secures the pouch of tax money. Instead of celebrating, he immediately shouts for his men to pack up. "We leave now! Immediately!" A subordinate looks confused. But it's still daytime. Lord Lu's expression darkens. The countryside becomes a death trap at night. Strange evils roam these lands, creatures that can easily kill even divine fetus cultivators. His gaze drifts toward the massive spirit tree. The wind rustles through its leaves. "Someone sacrificed their body to that tree," he whispers grimly. "I refuse to be here when the consequences arrive." The cart continues along the lonely road. Grandpa holds up a live centipede. "Dinner is settled." Xiao Shi grimaces at the venomous creature. He hates this strict medicinal diet. Suddenly Grandpa looks toward the sky. His expression changes instantly. The sun is setting early. The sky darkens 15 minutes earlier than usual. Cold wind sweeps across the cliffs. Xiao Shi squints upward. "Did Blackpot miscalculate the time?" Grandpa glares at the trembling black dog. "If you can't track time properly," he growls, "your meat will make a fine stew." The old man stares at the sinking sun. They are too far from Hompi village. Night will arrive before they can return. Xiao Shi scans the horizon. Suddenly he spots something. There! In the distance, a lonely temple stands against the fading light. A possible shelter. The wooden cart rattles toward the structure. When they arrive, Xiao Shi jumps down to secure a place for the night. But Grandpa remains suspicious. He scans the surroundings. "Was this temple here earlier?" Xiao Shi pauses. He tries to remember. No. The landscape feels disturbingly unfamiliar. The mountain itself seems to have appeared out of nowhere. With darkness approaching quickly, they hurry inside. The temple interior is completely ruined. The roof is shattered. Moonlight pours through the open sky above. Debris covers the floor around a silent seated statue. Xiao Shi immediately realizes the open doorway is dangerous. He begins dragging heavy stones across the floor to barricade the entrance. Straining with effort, he pushes a massive boulder. "Grandpa, help me!" But suddenly, he lifts the enormous rock above his head. Xiao Shi freezes. The strength surging through his body shocks him. The starlight cultivation didn't just heal him. It made him far stronger than any ordinary human. With a thunderous crash, he slams the rock into the doorway. The entrance is sealed. Then Xiao Shi looks up. There is still a huge hole in the roof. He jumps to fix it. But his new strength launches him far too high. Gravity pulls him down. Crash. He smashes straight through the rotten wooden floorboards. Xiao Shi stares around in disbelief. He just jumped an impossible height. Did all that medicine mutate my body? Grandpa's voice interrupts his thoughts. Little Ten, come eat. Xiao Shi climbs out of the broken floor. I'm coming. Outside, the golden sunset fades. The sky sinks into deep twilight. A cold blue moon rises. The spirit realm awakens. High above the forest canopy, pale bare feet move silently along the branches. Meanwhile, Lord Lu and his officers are racing through heavy rain. "We won't reach the county yamen in time," one soldier shouts. "Then we shelter in the temple," Lord Lu orders. Ahead, smoke rises from a lonely structure on a hill. The officers push their horses to the limit. They race desperately toward the temple. High above them, the godmother spirit lands softly among the branches. She holds a fresh orange in her hand. Her calm smile watches the approaching officials. Lord Lu suddenly senses something wrong. Movement surrounds them in the darkness. The godmother calmly takes a bite of her orange. Then, violence erupts. Wood shatters. The structure explodes apart. Blood sprays through the night. A blade flashes through the darkness. A soldier's head falls instantly. Panic erupts. The attack is merciless. Limbs fly through the air. Another officer is cut down from behind. Bodies and horses are thrown violently into the sky like broken dolls. The entire squad is annihilated within seconds. Lord Lu screams as the ground beneath him explodes. A massive wooden spike erupts from the earth. It pierces through his chest and lifts him high into the stormy night. Blood pours from his mouth. His mind collapses under the terrifying spiritual pressure. Through his fading vision, he sees a small figure descending from the sky, the godmother. She floats down gracefully. Lord Lu stares up in horror. The deity lands lightly on the wooden spike above his chest. She calmly bites into her fruit, looking down at him without the slightest emotion. Satisfied, she leaps into the remaining soldiers. Spiritual energy explodes outward like invisible vines. The survivors are thrown violently into the night sky. Then the godmother turns toward the temple. Her expression sharpens. Inside the temple, Xiao Shi peeks through a crack in the boarded window. He watches the massacre outside. Suddenly, the godmother's eyes meet his. Xiao Shi jerks backward in terror. Sweat pours down his face. He realizes the horrifying truth. The deity has already spotted him. A sickening crunch echoes through the night as the slaughter outside finally comes to an end. Inside the ruined temple, Xiao Shi freezes. He waits in silence, expecting the monster to burst through the door at any moment. But suddenly, the overwhelming spiritual pressure disappears into the darkness. From the shadows, Grandpa's voice calmly calls out, "Did you see it?" Xiao Shi nods slowly, his voice trembling. "The godmother, she destroyed dozens of divine fetus experts in a single moment." He turns toward the center of the temple. Grandpa sits beside a bubbling cauldron as if nothing unusual has happened. The old man calmly stirs the broth. "There's no need to envy her power," he says casually. "One day, you'll be able to crush those constables just as easily." Xiao Shi lowers his eyes. He cannot even imagine reaching that level of terrifying strength. Grandpa chuckles softly. "You misunderstand. With your current body, raw power isn't the goal. But your speed, that can rival even the godmother." Xiao Shi instinctively shifts into a combat stance. Grandpa begins explaining the weakness of their enemies. The Six Gates officials cultivate the heaven-heart righteous chi art. They focus on spiritual power rather than physical strength. If they strike first, their spells are lethal. But their bodies are fragile. They depend entirely on their divine fetuses. Grandpa gestures toward the battlefield outside. If someone closes the distance fast enough, they crumble like paper. He continues stirring the cauldron filled with swirling purple venom. The thick liquid bubbles violently over the fire. "You lost your divine fetus," Grandpa says quietly, "but this poisonous diet is rebuilding your body into something far more dangerous." He hands Xiao Shi a bowl of the nightmare-colored soup. Then he gives the final lesson. "When fighting these spellcasters, close the distance instantly. Crush them before they can chant even a single spell." Xiao Shi looks down at the bubbling purple broth. He realizes something important. This horrible poison actually works. Grandpa believes the progress comes from the medicine alone. But Xiao Shi keeps a secret. He is also cultivating the three lights upright chi art. He sets the empty bowl down with a sharp clatter. Since his stolen divine fetus prevents him from storing spiritual energy, he has chosen a different path. He will pour that energy into strengthening his physical body. A faint blue aura flickers around him. By combining the poisonous medicine with his secret technique, his cultivation speed will double. Xiao Shi forms a hand seal and locks himself into a meditative stance. Spectral blue energy bursts outward, surrounding him like a roaring flame. Moonlight pours through the shattered temple roof. Green fire burns beneath the cauldron as the poisonous broth continues boiling. Nearby, the black dog sleeps peacefully beside the flames. Suddenly, the dog's ears twitch. A chilling whisper breaks the silence. Grandpa sits hunched in the shadows. His thin body trembles violently. Slowly, he lifts his head. His hollow eyes widen. The scent of human flesh fills the air. While Xiao Shi remains deep within his cultivation trance, Grandpa's restraint begins to break. The old man rises slowly. A dark demonic aura surrounds him. "I'm starving." He steps closer to the meditating boy. His skeletal hand reaches forward. His fingers curl into claws as he struggles against the monstrous hunger consuming him. "No!" Grandpa roars in agony. He refuses to give in. Desperate to protect Xiao Shi, he throws himself backward. Crash! The old man smashes straight through the temple wall and launches himself down the cliffside. He tumbles violently into the darkness of the valley below. The noise snaps Xiao Shi out of his trance. His eyes open instantly. He rushes toward the shattered wall. Far below, his grandfather disappears into the forest. Xiao Shi sighs in relief. He must have gone hunting again. But when he looks down toward the battlefield, something moves. One of the dead Six Gates officials twitches. Xiao Shi rubs his eyes. But it wasn't a trick. Dark energy begins swirling around the corpse. The dead man slowly rises. His face twists into a horrifying undead expression. With a guttural roar, the corpse transforms into a mindless monster. Xiao Shi recoils in terror. "A corpse uprising?" The black dog begins barking wildly. Below them, the slaughtered officials begin moving. Broken bones snap back into place with sickening cracks. An unseen force drags the corpses upright. One by one, the dead soldiers stand again. Their hollow eyes stare blankly into the night. Then, a strange sound drifts through the wind. A piercing melody. Xiao Shi presses against the broken window. It is the eerie cry of a Swana horn. And the sound is controlling the corpses. Through the thick mist, the source finally appears. A strange procession approaches slowly. Red banners wave in the night wind. At its center stands a luxurious red sedan chair. For a moment, Xiao Shi almost mistakes it for a wedding procession, but his instincts scream in warning. This is no celebration. The musician comes into view. It is a fox spirit, wearing ceremonial red robes and playing the golden swana. Behind it marches an entire troop of fox spirits. They beat drums and clash cymbals in a grotesque festive rhythm. The music controls the corpses like puppet strings. The dead Six Gates officials dance stiffly to the rhythm. Forced into a twisted performance, Xiao Shi slowly backs away from the window. But when he turns, Grandpa is gone. The temple is completely empty. The boy grips a peachwood talisman tightly in his hand. It is the only protection his grandfather left behind. He tears the paper open. But panic quickly fills his heart. This small talisman is useless against the powerful spirits surrounding him. A shrill voice suddenly echoes through the night. "Invite the groom." Inside the crimson sedan chair, a silent figure in bridal robes waits patiently. The fox spirits chant louder. "Invite the groom." Their faces twist into demonic smiles. Their eyes glow with eerie green light as they approach the temple. The undead officials join the procession. Their glowing eyes stare toward the building. The command echoes again. "Invite the groom." The temple walls tremble. Xiao Shi stands frozen beside the window. They are coming for him. Suddenly the spirit army charges. Explosive talismans fly toward the temple window. But just before the attack reaches him, The glowing papers suddenly freeze in midair. Everything falls into an eerie silence. A frightened whimper breaks the tension. The black dog tucks its tail between its legs and runs away into the darkness. Suddenly the temple ceiling collapses. Huge chunks of stone crash down around Xiao Shi. He dives to the ground just in time. The entire structure begins collapsing. Then, a colossal stone fist smashes through the wall. The barricade explodes into dust. Xiao Shi stares upward in terror. The monster's strength is overwhelming. As the dust settles, something strange appears. The red sedan chair now sits calmly inside the ruins. Untouched. Green mist curls around it. The curtains slowly open. A pale hand emerges. Long blood-red fingernails gleam in the moonlight. Cold sweat drips down Xiao Shi's face. Something powerful is inside. Suddenly the black dog rushes forward. It bares its teeth and barks fiercely, standing between Xiao Shi and the sedan chair. Xiao Shi feels a sudden burst of respect for the animal. But the moment ends instantly. A jagged black shadow slices through the air. The curtain lifts completely. Inside sits a spectral bride dressed in blood-red robes. Her pale lips curl into a sinister smile beneath a golden veil. Then, a massive black spike shoots forward with terrifying speed. Xiao Shi freezes in absolute horror. A razor-sharp shadow slices through the air. It misses Xiao Shi by mere inches. The shockwave explodes outward, blasting him off his feet and sending his body tumbling violently across the shattered temple floor. He skids to a painful halt, adrenaline surging through his veins as his wide eyes lock onto the threat. The red sedan chair sits silently in the darkness. It does not move. Yet an overwhelming pressure radiates from it, suffocating the air. Xiao Shi slowly pushes himself upright. His eyes remain fixed on the closed curtains. Waiting for the monster inside to reveal itself. Suddenly, the world spins. Before he can react, Xiao Shi finds himself standing inside a cramped chamber glowing with dim red light. His heart nearly stops. He has been pulled inside the bridal sedan chair. The space is narrow and suffocating. Xiao Shi cautiously lifts the heavy curtain and peeks outside. Blackpot stands nearby, barking in confusion, unable to understand where his master disappeared. But Xiao Shi quickly realizes something even worse. He is not alone. A silent figure sits in the corner of the sedan. The stranger slowly turns. A pale face appears beneath the flaps of a ceremonial hat. Xiao Shi stares in shock. The man is dressed in traditional bridegroom robes. The groom sits helplessly inside the sedan, surrounded by swirling blood-red energy. His eyes are dull and lifeless. Suddenly the entire sedan chair launches into the sky. Green mist swirls violently around it as the carriage tumbles through the air. Below, the fox spirits leap upward and catch the falling sedan. They lift it onto their shoulders and continue marching forward. Golden swanahorns scream into the night. Cymbals crash. Drums thunder. The grotesque procession continues as if celebrating a wedding. One fox spirit stretches its jaw wide to blow a massive horn. Another slams cymbals together with manic energy. Left behind in the ruins, Blackpot looks up in shock. Then realization hits. His master is being taken away. The dog lets out a furious bark and begins sprinting after the flying sedan with desperate speed. Inside the dark sedan chamber, the ghost bride finally moves. She corners Xiao Shi. The boy freezes as her pale clawed hand reaches toward him. With a violent tear, she rips open his robes. Her elegant smile twists into something monstrous. Rows of razor-sharp teeth appear inside her mouth. Then she lunges forward. Her jaws open wide enough to swallow him whole. A terrified scream echoes through the night as the ghostly procession continues racing across the sky. Suddenly, the sedan curtain bursts open. Xiao Shi is thrown out of the carriage. His body crashes violently onto the ground. He tumbles across dirt and debris before finally sliding to a halt. Blackpot rushes toward him immediately, barking in confusion. Xiao Shi slowly sits up stunned. He has no idea why the monster suddenly expelled him. But before he can think further, A piercing scream erupts from the departing sedan chair. The ghost bride shrieks in pure terror. She recoils deep into the shadows of the carriage. On Xiaoshi's chest, a ghostly handprint glows with eerie green light. Xiaoshi grabs his chest in shock. The curse mark saved him. It was not mercy. The spirit bride was afraid of the ghost hand sealed on his heart. But the danger is not over. A heavy grinding noise echoes through the ruined temple. Stone drags against stone. Xiaoshi stiffens. It is the middle of the night. And other horrors could emerge at any moment. He must prepare. Xiaoshi spreads yellow talisman paper across a broken table. His brush moves quickly as he draws protective runes. Blue spiritual energy flickers around his hand. He imitates the techniques he saw his grandfather use countless times. Stroke after stroke. Charm after charm. Alone inside the dim temple, Xiaoshi works tirelessly. Exhaustion creeps into his bones. But he cannot stop. His life depends on these fragile sheets of paper. He lifts a completed talisman and studies it nervously. Sweat drips down his face. Will these crude charms actually stop the monsters outside? One by one he seals the barricaded doors and windows with peachwood talismans. Every crack. Every opening. Everything must be sealed. His mind drifts to stories of evil spirits wiping entire villages off the map. Even destroying powerful godmothers. Xiaoshi's hand trembles against the wooden wall. A terrifying thought enters his mind. If Grandpa encounters something like that outside, will he survive? No. Grandpa will be fine, Xiaoshi mutters to himself. But the empty temple offers no comfort. He slowly slumps against the pillar beside Blackpot. Gently he pats the dog's head. His voice becomes barely a whisper. The old man might already be gone. A single tear falls in the darkness. And Xiaoshi finally admits the truth he has been avoiding. His grandfather may no longer be human. The memory drags him back half a month earlier. Grandpa had given him a chilling warning. His time was running out. Desperate to cheat death, the old man created a reckless plan. He would stage his own fake funeral. By pretending to be a corpse, he hoped to deceive the envoys of the underworld. Grandpa carefully arranged the altar, prepared offerings, then climbed inside the coffin. His skin pale, his breathing shallow. He lay perfectly still, mimicking death itself. If he could endure one day inside the coffin, perhaps he could steal a few more years of life. Inside the darkness, Grandpa whispered to his grandson, I'm only doing this because I can't leave you alone. But when the coffin opened again, the man who climbed out was not the same. Back in the present, Xiaoshi remembers everything. Grandpa chewing wax candles like food. Grinding the wicks between his teeth, he abandoned warm meals. Instead, he inhaled the smoke of burning incense. But eventually, even that wasn't enough. Grandpa crouched over pools of blood, tearing into raw flesh with savage hunger. His eyes glowing with demonic red light. The appetite for human flesh had begun. Blackpot whimpered in terror. And Xiaoshi realized the truth. The fake funeral had failed. Grandpa was already dead. A walking corpse fighting against the natural order. Tears streamed down Xiaoshi's face. The old man is defying heaven itself, just to watch him grow up. Even if he becomes a monster, even if one day he craves Xiaoshi's flesh, he is still Grandpa. The only family Xiaoshi has left. Heavy footsteps suddenly echo in the courtyard. Grandpa has returned. Blackpot immediately wags his tail and runs toward him. The old man crouches and gently pats the dog's head. The danger has passed. Inside the temple, Grandpa watches over the sleeping boy. Xiaoshi lies on a straw mat, exhausted from the night's events. The old man does not sleep. He sits beside the fire, tending the medicinal cauldron. The treatment must continue. Grandpa stares into the rising smoke. His red eye glows faintly. He knows the truth. He is living on borrowed time. But he swears to endure, just a little longer. At least until Xiaoshi grows up. Yet deep in his heart he understands something darker. One day, he may no longer be able to suppress the monster within. And if that day comes, Grandpa has already made his decision. He grips Xiaoshu's wrist gently in the dim firelight. His voice echoes silently inside his mind. If I lose control, I will kill him myself, and take him with me to the underworld. Because he refuses to leave Xiaoshu alone in this cruel world, and because without guidance, the boy's terrifying power might one day destroy everything. Xiaoshu grunts with effort as he shoves a massive boulder across the ground, sealing the temple entrance against the coming night. He exhales heavily and wipes the sweat from his face. For a moment he feels relieved. But when he looks down, his expression suddenly changes. The ground beneath him seems to vanish. The perspective shifts violently, revealing a horrifying sight. The hillside now stretches endlessly downward, as if the mountain has grown straight into the clouds. Xiaoshu gasps in shock. What the hell? He immediately runs back into the temple to report the strange phenomenon, but Grandpa doesn't even look up from the bubbling cauldron. In this land, the old man says calmly, impossible things happen every day. The casual response instantly calms Xiaoshu. His admiration for his grandfather grows even deeper. Still curious, Xiaoshu climbs up one of the wooden pillars inside the temple and bombards the old man with questions. Why did the temple suddenly appear? Why did the mountains grow? Why did the sun set early? Is it related to those spiteful spirits? He lands beside Grandpa, staring expectantly. The old man strokes his beard thoughtfully. After a long pause, he gives his conclusion. You're clearly too energetic tonight. So I'll double your medicine dosage. Xiaoshu immediately sprays a mouthful of soup across the room. He coughs violently in horror. What? Despite his complaints, the medicine quickly begins working. As Xiaoshu meditates, a burning sensation ignites inside his body. But mixed within the heat is a strange cool clarity. Blue energy suddenly bursts around him. His cultivation speed feels twice as fast as usual. Xiaoshu's eyes widen. The medicine has triggered a breakthrough. He can finally sense the sun and moonlight chi of the three lights upright chi art. But suddenly a strange thought stops him. He looks around the temple roof. Wait. If he is absorbing moonlight, then where is the light actually coming from? Xiaoshu steps outside the temple ruins. The moment he leaves, the connection disappears. The power instantly vanishes. He quickly steps back inside. Blue energy sparks back to life around his body. Xiaoshu freezes in place. He has just realized something shocking. Inside this temple, the laws of reality are different. Only here can he absorb the essence of the sun and moon. He looks up at the shattered roof. This place is not normal. It's a spiritual anomaly. For a moment he considers asking Grandpa about it. But he immediately covers his mouth. If he says anything, Grandpa will definitely double the medicine again. He glances suspiciously at the hunched old man beside the fire. Honestly, Grandpa probably doesn't know anything about this place. He only knows how to cook that nightmare medicine. Right on cue. Grandpa calls out from the fire. We should take advantage of this spiritual hotspot. Xiaoshu doesn't argue. He tilts his head back and gulps down the medicine eagerly. If this temple boosts his cultivation, then he'll use it. After finishing their cultivation session, the pair pack their belongings and leave. Their wooden cart rattles through the steep mountain roads. Xiaoshu suddenly notices something strange. They aren't heading back toward their village. Grandpa steers the cart toward a completely different direction. We're going to the moon sacrifice festival, the old man explains. Xiaoshu quickly calculates the time. The celebration lasts 3 days. If they hurry, they can still catch the final day. Soon a large settlement appears in the distance. A sprawling village surrounded by high protective walls. They have arrived at Yandang village. A massive stone statue stands guard at the entrance. The statue depicts a strange figure covering its own eyes. This is the godmother of Yandang village, Grandpa explains. The cart rolls inside. The streets are crowded with wealthy travelers dressed in expensive clothes. Xiaoshu looks around in confusion. Why isn't anyone bowing to the godmother? Grandpa snorts. These are rich nobles from Xuanyu County. They're here for vacation, not faith. Xiao Shi quickly notices something else. Despite the large crowd, almost no one is doing business. His eyes light up immediately. Opportunity. Grandpa, watch the stall, he says. I'll go buy supplies. Grandpa shouts after him. Don't waste our talismans. Xiao Shi pauses and nods nervously before running off. Some time later, a customer approaches the stall. Do you have peach blossom talismans? Xiao Shi looks up in surprise. Yes. Of course. The man gets straight to the point. How many do you have? Xiao Shi counts the yellow talisman papers in his hands. The customer nods. I'll take them all. But after seeing the small stack, he frowns slightly. That's not much. Then he suddenly asks, You're the one who made these. Xiao Shi freezes under the man's gaze. But after a moment, he nods confidently. Even without a divine fetus, he can still power talismans using the 3 lights upright chi art. That makes him a real talisman master. The wealthy customer simply tosses a huge silver ingot into the air. Xiao Shi panics trying to catch it. 50 taels, come with me and draw more talismans. Xiao Shi stares at the silver in disbelief. 50 taels? Greed immediately replaces shock. He quickly packs up his stall. The customer leads the way into the forest. Xiao Shi and Blackpot follow behind. They climb deeper into the mountains. Xiao Shi adjusts the heavy crate on his back. So, where exactly are we going? The servant finally introduces himself. My name is Li Guang. I serve a young master who set up a hunting camp in the forest. Then he laughs. The young master wants peach blossom talismans. To impress some girls, Xiao Shi chuckles politely. But then he casually asks, What's the young master's name? Li Guang smiles proudly. My master is from the powerful Li family of Xuanyu County. Xiao Shi suddenly freezes. His heart skips a beat. Then Li Guang continues talking. You must have heard of him. Our young master Li Xiaoding just took first place in the provincial exams. The name hits Xiao Shi like a thunderbolt. Memories explode inside his mind. The people who cut open his chest. The ones who stole his divine fetus. The family that destroyed his life. The pieces finally connect. This young master is the very person who stole his future. Li Guang keeps bragging. Everyone knows my master is a genius. Then he laughs smugly. Of course, being born into the right family helps. Xiao Shi lowers his head. His face slowly darkens. His fingers tighten around the straps of his crate. Family background. In other words, they had the power to rip the divine fetus from his chest. Xiao Shi begins trembling. Pure rage fills his heart. He stares at Li Guang's back. His entire life was destroyed, just to give a rich heir an advantage. His fist clenches tightly. A dark murderous aura begins gathering around his hand. For the first time since losing his divine fetus, Xiao Shi finally sees his enemy. And in that moment, he silently makes a vow. Young Master Li, I've finally found you. At this time, Chen Shi followed Li Guang to the camp. As soon as he went in, he stared in a certain direction. The fat pig lying there was his enemy, Li Xiaoding. Seeing his face sinking, he was thinking about how to do it. After a week, Li Guang had a total of 7 imperial guards. Chen Shi knew that if he dared to do it now, he would die without a burial place. At this time, Li Guang introduced Chen Shi. Child, this is the talisman master. Because there are not many Taohua talismans, I made my own decision to let him come to the scene. Chen Shi was slightly nervous and lowered his head. He was worried that Li Xiaoding would recognize himself. No matter what, he had decided to seize this opportunity. Chen Shi thought that his own body was now able to kill the god fetus. As long as he could seize the opportunity, Li Guang would introduce the queen. Li Xiaoding suddenly screamed. Chen Shi thought he was recognized by his enemy. However, the other party's eyes were on the black pot on the side. Surprised to say that there was still a dog, he only saw Li Xiaoding insert a piece of meat and let the black pot come over. Seeing that there was meat to eat, the black pot naturally did not let go and ran over drooling. Li Xiaoding was amused that it was a good dog. Chen Shi relaxed his breath and was too cautious. That's right, all the nobles just enjoy the benefits, how can they care about where the benefits come from? After that, Li Guang prepared a table for Chen Shi and let him dress up here. As for the number of Li Xiaoding, it turned out that Dingjia and Zhaojiao were all camping nearby. If you can get their love, Li Xiaoding's position in Li's family can be improved a lot, so no matter what, he must take them down. After saying that Li Xiaoding did not forget his subordinates, he promised to give them the extra Taohua talismans. Those maids return to you. Chen Shi observed the distance between himself and Li Xiaoding as he sharpened his tools. This distance has allowed him to kill each other in one move, but these imperial guards still do not know how to solve it. Although they look like they have been emptied out by juice, they do not seem to have enough breath, so they can hold them back. If you want to do it, maybe there is only one way, that is, Chen Shi has to kill the imperial guards first, and then deal with Li Xiaoding alone. Thinking of this, Chen Shi took out a tool knife and slowly walked in the direction of Li Xiaoding. Seeing Chen Shi holding a knife in his hand, the imperial guards cut out a statue facing Chen Shi. Li Xiaoding was also scared a lot. Gu Yofen said that he would take out a paper talisman and use it to shield a golden bell to protect him. However, Chen Shi pretended to be terrified and said that he was just going to take the dog blood talisman, not the assassin. Saying that, he looked at Li Guang behind him. Li Guang looked at him carefully and thought about it. After thinking it through, he relaxed his breath and picked up a statue to explain it. Don't be nervous, he was right. The talisman does need the black dog blood as a shadow, because the black dog blood is oxygenated, and it can play a stronger force with the cinnabar door. Li Xiaoding was angry and kicked the black pot aside, laughing at me, and didn't let me roll to death, and when they all felt terrified, Chen Shi squatted down and slowly picked up a small knife. At this time, the distance between him and the imperial guards was even closer. Especially Li Guang, who was closest in front of him, was in a position to make a good attack and was ready to kill him with one blow. At the moment when Chen Shi was about to make a move, he was destroyed by a woman who suddenly arrived. Is it Li Xiaoding's camp? A girl in a purple dress raised a big fruit to laugh at me. I'm the son of Ding's family, and I'm hunting with my fourth daughter. My fourth daughter is still in the camp. I heard that Mr. Li is also here to hunt Taching, so let me come over and contact the two families. By the way, take a look at your brothers and see if they can help set up our camp. It's a long way to go. Now, even if he can kill the imperial guards, the maid must have some distance from him. It must be too late to deal with it. At that time, he must die under the spell of the other party. The imperial guards can't move as soon as they see a beautiful girl. My son said he was going to visit you. He didn't think the girl would come first. He said that he took over the fruit in his hand. He came to Li Xiaoding and took out a worship card. He said that Mr. Li was a big red man in Shuinyou County. The last time I met Mr. Li, I was surprised. My fourth daughter also said that she didn't expect Mr. Li to hide his strength. This is my daughter's worship card. She has a good figure, and the imperial guards who are going to work with her are returning. I hope to say a few more words to her. Touching is an activity for men and women to find closeness. Otherwise, who would go hunting in the mountains? Li Xiaoding smiled and said, It's too much? If you need any help, just tell me. Why do you have to give gifts and stickers? At that time, everyone was attracted to this white and transparent maid. They stared at the maid and saw the perfect opportunity for the maid to create an accident. At this moment, Chen Shi took a decisive action and killed Li Guang, who was right in front of him. He quickly came to the second target and stabbed several times. Then the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. Zhao Zheiziming couldn't react at all. It was not until the seventh was the last person to see that he immediately mobilized the true qi to stimulate the divine card. The divine card's divine fetus was restored. At that time, the divine power was all over his body, and his four limbs were still full of divine power. But this divine power had just risen. Chen Shi had already come to him. A kick kicked him under the abdomen. The play of reception in the ship followed by a kick to his head. In the end, he aimed the knife at the maid next to him and threw it away, regardless of its beauty. Accurately hit the purple face of the evil. In just a few seconds, Chen Shi killed 7 imperial guards and a maid. Even if they all have cultivation, they still can't escape Chen Shi's attack. At this moment, Chen Shi was like a demon soldier. On the one hand, Li Xiaoding was already frightened by this scene. His eyes were full of fear. He was the cultivator of the divine fetus mirror. If it was to stimulate magic, he could easily kill Chen Shi. But he was too afraid of a blank space in his mind. He couldn't remember any of the magic he had learned before. Li Xiaoding screamed and knelt down. "Strong man, spare me, I have something to discuss. I have money. As long as you let me go, I can do whatever I want." Chen Shi looked at him fiercely. "Do you want your life?" Chen Shi was in a state of madness. Facing Li Xiaoding's begging, Chen Shi just gave him a cold smile, and Li Xiaoding knew he couldn't run away. So when he begged for mercy, he secretly took out the golden talisman and used it. In the next second, a golden bell appeared to cover him. Chen Shi asked him angrily, "You are clearly a cultivator of the divine fetus mirror. Why don't you use magic? Did you forget the magic or forget how your divine fetus came?" After speaking, the right hand used a heavy 3 lightning strike to smash the golden talisman. It was just a punch that broke it. Even the only protection was gone. Li Xiaoding was really afraid of this matter. "Don't kill him." Chen Shi picked him up with one hand and asked the master to pry my head open and take away my divine fetus. "Do you want to live? I guess you can't imagine that I can survive such a serious injury. You should regret it now. Why didn't you kill him in the first place? Since I can survive, I must avenge this grudge." Li Xiaoding was scared to death. Yan Mang explained that it had nothing to do with me. This thing was stuffed by my family members. "I want money, I want money, I want women, I have women. I'm not interested in citizens." Chen Shi asked him to shut up. "Do you know how I've been through the past 2 years? How much suffering and how much grievance have I suffered?" Who knew that after 2 years, Li Xiaoding suddenly stopped and said, "Wait a minute. Did you just say that you were cut off from the divine fetus 2 years ago? But I was transplanted to someone else's divine fetus last year. Did you kill the wrong person?" After hearing this, Chen Shi directly asked Hao Lian, "What the hell?" and confirmed again. "Are you sure you were transplanted last year?" Li Xiaoding said there was evidence to be found. "You can just ask around." Chen Shi was fierce. He looked down and looked at his blood-stained palm. "So you're really not the one who took my divine fetus?" Li Xiaoding sighed, explaining that the divine fetus would be destroyed soon. "So if you were taken away 2 years ago, the divine fetus couldn't have been kept for a year before I was transplanted." After thinking about it, Chen Shi found that he seemed to have killed the wrong person. After all, he has never confirmed the enemy. It's just that when he heard the guesswork of Miss Z and her subordinates, Li Xiaoding got bolder. "You did a good job. Even if you killed my 7 imperial guards, you also killed Miss Z of the Ding family. The truth is a bit lawless, but it's in his words." Chen Shi shot again and cut off the flag. "Maybe you didn't take my divine fetus, but the one who was taken away by you must not be alive. So you're a guy who takes people's divine fetuses. You should die. Just take revenge for that person." Chen Shi was not afraid that the family behind these people would be in trouble. Anyway, at night the evil spirits would clean up the disaster here. No one could find him. When Chen Shi walked out of the forest, he saw that his grandfather had been waiting here for a long time. He was not surprised by the bloodstain on Chen Shi's clothes. Instead, he threw a new dress to Chen Shi and was very surprised to say that he had to change his clothes quickly. If there was blood, someone would track it down. Chen Shi changed his clothes according to the instructions and burned the old clothes to the ground. At this time, he remembered the instruction of the storyteller. It means that as long as no one sees it, it doesn't count as a crime. Then Chen Shi got on the carriage and went back to the village with his grandfather. Looking at his grandfather's back, Chen Shi felt that his grandfather must have done this a lot before. He thought more than he did. At this time, his grandfather turned around to ask Chen Shi if he was hiding something from me. You came here to be a talisman master. There must be a charge. Chen Shi glanced at an opportunity, and was found. On the second day after Chen Shi's assassination, Li Kefa, the magistrate of Shuingniu County, rushed to the camp, and after a night of evil cleaning, all the bodies in the camp were left with only a white bone. The inspector looked at the white bone for a while and was helpless. He couldn't see how he died. At this time, the imperial guards came to report that Lord Li had asked Ding's side. It was the fourth lady who sent someone to find the secret, and only then did she find out what happened to Child Dingdi. As for the rest, Li Kefa did not say a word at this time. His heart was already full of anger. After calming down, he turned around to ask the red-clothed man Shu Gujian. What do you think? Shu Gujian said that Child Dingdi was killed by someone else. Li Kefa, who had just calmed down, was frustrated. How can this be said? Because the fourth lady of Ding's family sent someone to find the maid at dusk, and the evil thing was not out yet, so if it's not evil, it's even less likely to be a beast in the mountains. But no beast can kill 7 or 8 imperial guards, and they don't even have time to use magic. So it must have been killed by someone else. And it's still a knife and a fist. Judging from the wounds on the white bone, the knife pierced the heart from the back. It means that this person is not tall. It is estimated that the power of the fist can crush the head bone between 5 or 6 feet. Zhu Gujian looked at the footprints on the ground again. This person's footwork is also very fast. It can actually sell 5 or 6 steps in one play. This is also why the Imperial Guards don't even have time to use magic, because they can't react at all. Li Kefa held his fist tightly after listening. Are you talking about this person's physical training? But cultivators rarely practice physical training. Maybe it's a historical talisman used by Zhu Gujian, but it's definitely not a historical talisman. There is only one mark left on the whole camp. And this talisman is a golden talisman used by the child to defend himself. The murderer must be a small-bodied cultivator, or a master who has cultivated into a golden egg. He wants to hide his good magic and deliberately uses a fist and a knife to kill people. Although it has shrunk a lot, these conditions are still too difficult to find. Li Kefa is a little broken. Zhu Gujian laughed. Although this person is cautious, he is still a secret artist. He pointed to the remaining flesh bone on the paper. This person also brought a dog. It seems that the dog's footprint has been removed, but the bite mark on the bone can be seen that it was bitten by a fist. Li Kefa frowned. Will it be a wild dog or something? Zhu Gujian shook his head. If it's a wild dog or something, why would he eat the flesh in the pot and not touch the corpse on the ground? At this time, Zhu Gujian found a little bit of cinnabar powder. He glanced at me. Cinnabar is usually made from the blood of black dogs. It seems that it is still a black dog. It is specially used to extract dog blood to grind cinnabar to make a talisman. So this person's identity is a talisman master with a black dog. I guess he was invited by the child to draw a talisman. Li Kefa felt that there was so much speculation. It was better to ask the soul of the person who invited me to play. Zhu Gujian said helplessly after listening. In fact, I have just been invited once, but not only can't summon the child's soul, but even the soul of other imperial guards cannot be summoned. It seems that if you die in the hands of this talisman master, even the soul will disappear. Li Kefa was stunned. How is this possible? Could this person have eaten the soul when he was killing? Zhu Gujian also felt that it was not possible. In his impression, only evil and evil can eat the ghost soul. He guessed that this talisman master may have raised evil, or was resurrected by evil. Li Kefa also ordered Zhu Gujian to go after the child with the black dog. He must be alive. He wants to take revenge for his son in person. At night, Chen Shi did not know that he had been exposed. But even if he knew, it was useless. At this time, he once again experienced the pain of the ghost palm. He wanted to call his grandfather, but it was so painful that he could not say anything. Chen Shi can only stop his body with difficulty. Like the last time, he pushed the three-light spirit to suppress the ghost's palm after a moment of movement. Chen Shi was panting for the rest of his life. He guessed that it might be the people who killed Li Xiaoding. The reason for the overconsumption of food is the outbreak of the disease of the ghost's palm. The next day, Chen Shi woke up and came to the kitchen. His grandfather was holding a medicinal fan inside. For the effect of the medicinal fan, Chen Shi can feel that it is getting weaker and weaker. It seems that I still have to go to the true king's tomb to get the full three-light spirit. After experiencing the pain of the ghost's palm again, Chen Shi decided to go out for a walk. When he passed by the Yudai River and the riverside, he met a sad old lady burning paper money. He also said that he was going home. Chen Shi knew him and was from the next village. At this time last year, the other person's son was drowned here. At this time, a few young ghost souls appeared in the river. One of them was the son of the old lady. After seeing his mother, he shouted loudly and wanted to attract the attention of his mother. But no matter how he shouted, the old lady couldn't see him. The two young men behind him told him not to shout. It's useless. The living people can't see the ghost soul. You should be content. At least there is a mother to burn paper money for you. Unlike the two of us, the family probably doesn't know that we are drowned. It's said that it was to save you. Don't mention how wrongful it is. After shouting for a long time, he didn't respond. He cried bitterly. Mom, my feet are cramped in the mud. Why don't you come and save me? You can see the ghost soul of Chen Shi from a distance. You can see this scene clearly. You really can't see the bone separation. Forget it. Let's help him. After saying that, Chen Shi jumped into the river and swam down. Not long after Chen Shi jumped down, Zhu Gejian happened to bring people to the river. When he saw the old lady and the water flowing on the water surface, Zhu Gejian noticed that there was something strange. So he took out a yellow talisman and put it in his eyes. This is the eye talisman that can make him see the ghost god. With the use of the eye talisman, Zhu Gejian gradually began to see another world. He found that there was movement under the river. He could only see that the two young water ghosts were following Chen Shi. When they noticed that Chen Shi was trying to save Yushuan's corpse, they decided to leave Chen Shi with them with resentment. So one grabbed Chen Shi's neck and the other dragged Chen Shi's legs, intending to drown him. Zhu Gejian saw this scene and thought that Chen Shi was an ordinary child who had fallen into the water. If he was caught by the water ghost, he would be more ferocious. But as time went by, Zhu Gejian's face began to shock. Just because he saw that Chen Shi was very strong, he dragged the two water ghosts down to swim. Not long after, Chen Shi swam to the bottom of the river. He grabbed one of his arms from the mud and saved the covered corpse. He sent it back to the old lady. Zhu Gejian saw this scene clearly. The other party's strength and speed and cultivation were not like that of a child. At that moment, he doubted it. This strength seemed to be as good as a child's. Even within the tent, these mute would never be the opponent of that child. Chen Shi did not know that he was targeted. After handing the corpse to the old lady, he turned around and picked up the other two ghost bodies. Zhu Gejian did not expect the boy to do this. Obviously, the two water ghosts wanted to harm him just now. Why are you still willing to pick up their corpses? It seems that this young man is compassionate. How can he do it to complain? So Zhu Gejian came to Chen Shi and greeted him politely. I am Zhu Gejian, the god of water and cattle. I don't know what you call me. After Chen Shi saw that he was a man of the government, he felt bad. But on the surface, he still calmly introduced his name. Zhu Gejian first praised it. Chen Shi's little brother is really good at it. Then he revealed his purpose for coming here. We are here for a murder case. I want to ask you about a person. After Chen Shi heard it, he was cold and straight. Sure enough, he was found. Fortunately, he was not recognized. Chen Shi pretended to be a normal child. His uncle was scared by the murder case. What do you mean? What are you doing? Zhu Gejian gradually comforted the little brother without being afraid. The main thing is to ask you if there is a talisman master named Qiningdu in Huangpa village. After Chen Shi heard it, he relaxed his breath. It was a false alarm. It turned out that they were suspicious of his grandfather. Anyway, He was not killed by his grandfather. Check it out. What do you want to do with him? Zhu Gejian seemed to know Chen Shi, so he began to ask. How old is this Chen? Chen Shi said that he was about the same age as you. The words of age are almost old, and can't be moved. After hearing this description, the subordinates were reluctant to tell Zhu Gejian that the case was not done by Chen Yin. What should we do now? We have been to nearby villages these days. The county government has also sent people. The killer can still fly. After Zhu Gejian thought that the clue was cut off, a dog bark attracted his attention. It was the Black Pot who came to inform Chen Shi to let him go back to eat. After Zhu Gejian saw a black dog, he was shocked. Isn't this a trace left at the scene of the crime? Is the blood talisman a must-have black dog? He suddenly had an idea. He smiled and sat down to ask Chen Shi. This black dog looks good. I heard that the blood of this kind of dog is the most dangerous. After hearing this question, Chen Shi realized that the Black Pot was obviously exposed. In order to escape as soon as possible, he pretended to be a child and made a fuss. I won't sell it to you. Zhu Gejian didn't stop him. He just quietly looked at Chen Shi's figure. At this moment, he finally figured it out. If the killer is not an old man, but a 10-year-old little talisman master, this will not cause other people's defense. There is a chance to make a move. Interesting. Let me try it first. Chen Shi suddenly felt that a pair of sharp eyes behind him were shining at him. Extremely aggressive. Updated. After seeing Zhu Gejian's eyes on the Black Pot, Chen Shi knew that he was exposed, so he immediately found an excuse to escape. When he thought he had successfully escaped, Zhu Gejian's figure came to him in an instant. Chen Shi continued to pretend to be a child. I'm sorry. Don't block me. I'm in a hurry to go home for dinner. He even pushed the Black Pot out. You see, my Black Pot is weak and sick. The eyes are bad and the meat is hard. It must be delicious, so don't hit him. Zhu Gejian didn't pretend. A few days ago, Li Xiaoding died on Qianyang Mountain. There was a black dog next to the killer. This person is a talisman master. He should be about the same height as you. After hearing what the other party said so carefully, Chen Shi knew that he couldn't avoid it, so he decided to draw a knife and prepare to do it. But Zhu Gejian had already noticed that he had retreated several ranks in an instant. He knew that as long as he was not within a certain attack distance, Chen Shi could not do anything to him. The fact is that after seeing the other party's high alertness, Chen Shi also knew that he had lost his chance. Just when he was thinking about how to deal with this crisis, Zhu Gejian suddenly said, smiling at him. Chen Shi was scared and thought that the other party was going to do it. He hurried away from him, but this was just a test of Zhu Gejian. If he had maintained some doubts just now, and after seeing Chen Shi's exposed skills, he could have been 100% sure that the killer was Chen Shi. Chen Shi's face was black and he knew that the other party was testing himself, but he should say that he was very impressed with this guy. It was really amazing. At this time, Zhu Gejian continued to say that this distance was not very difficult for you, and I dared to fire a three-eyed gun within 100 steps. Chen Shi's internal force was flawless, and he could destroy and repair the body of the god, and he could be used as a big hammer or a long gun. How do you want to kill me? This strong momentum made Chen Shi cold sweat. He couldn't beat him, but he couldn't run away. Is he going to die here? Just when Chen Shi thought he was going to die, Zhu Gejian took the gun back, and he laughed at the little brother when he made a mistake in the future. Don't leave any traces, or if you leave it in my hands, it's another ending. After saying that, he turned around and left in Chen Shi's surprised eyes. Chen Shi asked him confidently, Don't you catch me and go back? Zhu Gejian stopped, and you don't care if the water ghost wants to kill you, but they still care. I think you are a little interesting, and Li Xiaoding is not an innocent person. As for catching you or not, it has nothing to do with me. I am in charge of solving the case, and catching people is not my duty. In addition, even if I lose my job because of this, I can live a good life wherever I go. After saying that, Zhu Gejian left, and when he returned to Shuinyou County, Zhu Gejian wrote a resignation at the first time. He didn't care about this broken job. He walked in as a dentist at this time. The incident that happened near Huampa village and the past of Chen Yingdu's life have been sorted out, but I am a little confused. This Huampa village is a new township and does not belong to our Shuinyou county. Why do you want to investigate this? Zhu Gejian did not explain, but he was told that he could not reveal this matter, even if he was a county magistrate. Later, Zhu Gejian looked up the incident that happened in Huampa village in the past 2 years. He did not expect that so many well-known masters had disappeared near Huampa village. Is it related to the tomb of the true king? He continued to turn over and soon saw that it was related to Chen Shi. It was recorded above that the servant Chen Yingdu's son Chen Tang was living in the provincial city, and his grandson Chen Shi was resurrected 2 years ago. Zhu Gejian suddenly opened his eyes and had a feeling of numbness in his scalp. After he calmed down, he continued to look at him, but the more he looked at him, the more shocked he was. According to rumors among the villagers of Huampa village, Chen Yingdu also died in half a month ago. After letting Chen Shi go, Zhu Gejian went back to the county office and curiously checked the news of Huampa village in recent years and the file of Chen Shi's family, and found that many well-known masters had disappeared near Huampa village, and Chen Shi and his grandson were also very strange. For example, the sudden resurrection of Chen Shi 2 years ago and the rumor of the villagers that his grandfather Chen Yingdu should have died half a month ago, but he died on the second day of his funeral. After that, Chen Yingdu's life habits changed dramatically, not only ate candles and embroidered incense, but also slept in the coffin. Even since then, there have been many places in the village where people have been sucked dry blood for no reason, so the villagers think that Chen Yingdu is actually dead. It's just that in the broken area, the zombie dog is alive. Zhu Gejian was a little cold and straight after reading it. He didn't understand the origin of these grandchildren, but he could be sure of one thing about Chen Shi, that is, the perpetrator of the day is not a sinner, and the complainer is Qing Daqi. When he thought of this, Zhu Gejian burned this file without hesitation, but Zhu Gejian knew in his heart that his approach could not be covered for long. After all, whether it is Li Xiaoting's lover or those masters who have disappeared near Huampa village, they are all noble people, and the family behind them will not give up. That's all he can do. The next day, Li Kefa received a letter from Zhu Gejian. After reading it, he was very angry and tore it to pieces. It's just a dog raised by my Li family. You don't like to do it. Some people do it. He immediately issued an order to recruit a point, and soon he recruited a new point whose name was Chu Ji. As soon as he took office, he killed Li Xiaoting's criminal and placed it directly on Chen Yingdu, and reported to Li Kefa reasonably. At that time, in the village market near the camp, there was only Chen Yingdu, a talisman master, selling talismans. So if the murderer who killed Li Gongzi is a talisman master, it must be that old thing. At this time, Li Kefa only wanted to avenge Wei Er, whether it was true or not, and directly notified all his subordinates to gather and prepare to go to Huampa village to catch the murderer. Soon, Li Kefa took the Yaming and Li's family to worship the master. About dozens of people ran straight to Huampa village, just 100 miles away from Huampa village. It was too late for everyone to rush or arrive. It was getting late. An old Yaming and Chu Ji proposed not to rush again. The master's village was not as good as the county. There were a lot of evil things in the village, but Chu Ji did not dare to do it. Our team has 34 embroiderers and 17 players. They are all masters who have been cultivated into a mirror of the divine fetus and a magic weapon, let alone evil things. Even if it is broken, it is estimated that it has not been approached by our divine light chain. What's more, there's nothing to worry about, and Li Kefa is eager to revenge, so he won't waste time. Let's keep going. It's night time. When Li Kefa and the others walked to a forest, they suddenly heard the cry of a baby. Li Kefa took the opportunity to send someone to see Chu Ji. Chu Ji looked at the Yaming next to him. Liing, you go? Liing was a little scared, but he still had the courage to drive the divine fetus. If there is a lantern on the top of his head, the divine light will shine on the road ahead. At random, he carefully looked at the source of the sound. Not long after, he saw a lot of evil things on the ground. He hurried back to report the situation to Li Kefa. There are about a dozen babies in sight. Li Kefa did not understand, but in order to give himself a beautiful life as an official, he still ordered to take people to verify it. If it is a real baby, it is. After Chuji heard it, he pretended to be a gun and said that God had the virtue of living. It is rare for us to meet. You guys go to help Li Ying and bring those 10 babies over. Then he turned his head and bowed to Li Kefa. The master took a few dozen babies at a time, which is the heart of the Bodhisattva. If this is spread out, it will be called by the people of the world. After Li Kefa heard it, he rarely showed a smile. That's what he meant. With the beauty of the baby this time, he will be able to get the importance of the family. In the future, take a few more. Are you afraid that you don't have a son? But after a while, Li Ying said in a hurry that the master may not have enough people. It seems that there are more than a dozen babies, at least 30 or 40. At this time, the cries of the babies in the woods increased. Chuji was noisy and the divine color began to waver. He realized that something was wrong. At that moment, he opened his mouth to remind the master that there was a problem. After Li Kefa heard it, he looked around. At that time, his face was golden. It was moonlight. He immediately ordered everyone to hide under the tree. Don't be blinded by the moonlight and let everyone prepare the magic. Use the 5-pointed slashing sword. Chuji shouted loudly towards Li Ying. You hurry up and hold the child back. Let's go help again. The sound of the babies crying is getting closer and closer in the woods. Only to see Li Ying and others slowly walk out of the woods. They each held a baby in their hands. When they saw this scene, Li Kefa frowned and held the magic to continue the story.